down the field. Happy tossing dimes, cup $1 million deal. Fantasy football, better know it's real. Tune into the podcast, tell us how you feel. We be going live, best believe we talk.
And we're live, and we're on. What's up? What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Week 5 edition of a new segment we're calling Vouch, Slouch, and the Sneaky.
Oh, man, I like it.
If you're confused by what this segment is about, let's start here. It's basically our start, sit, and our sneaky plays of the week. We thought this format would be a little bit more informative to our listeners and straight to the point when it comes to setting your lineups for the week. So we'll be talking about 12 players that we are going to vouch for this week, 12 players that are just slouches, and some sneaky plays will be guys just outside the top 50 at their position that will have value this week and a possible flex play. So
Yes.
don't forget to head over to YouTube, hit the subscribe button, and also give us a 5-star review anywhere you listen to the podcast, because that goes a long way as well. We do honestly appreciate everybody that listens, everybody that offers feedback. We're loving the support this year. So we're going to keep bringing it to you guys, hopefully for a whole 18 weeks, if not longer. So, Habby, we're 5 weeks in the books, buddy.
I know. Almost halfway there.
Yeah, exactly. So, but without further ado, Habby, let's just, hit me up with your first quarterback you're vouching for this week.
Well, I mean, big injury in Miami last week in Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah. And now Teddy Bridgewater steps into a pretty sweet spot in Miami. His first game out of the gates, he's going against the Jets, who's allowed an average of over 20 fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. And I mean, the Jets, they're probably struggle to stop Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, even with Bridgewater throwing him the ball. So I think Bridgewater is a fire up this week in 12-team leagues for sure. And
Go ahead.
No, and he's a quality number 2 option in Superflex and 2 quarterback leagues. That's good.
Yeah, I tried to go and get him in one of our dynasty leagues and definitely got outbidded for him. I wasn't planning on. I don't have a whole lot of money in dynasties, so I was trying to get a little bit, but obviously somebody sees something in him, and I do agree with that. I think he's just as viable to move this offense around, especially with all these weapons on the field. All the way to your running backs. So he's got 2 solid running backs there as well. So
we've seen him. We've seen what he can do in Denver, and I mean, he was probably with Jimmy Garoppolo now the number 1. Now Teddy B was probably the best backup in the league.
That's very true. Very true. A guy I want to vouch for this week. There was 2 guys I had down there. One was Tom the Bomb Brady. I'll just touch on this real quick. But now I heard that he was on the injury report with like a finger or shoulder or something like that.
Broken heart.
And broken heart. Yeah, that is
broken
very
heart.
True. So
yeah.
I'll just I'll touch on him real quick. He basically was brutal the first few weeks, and last week we finally got to see, the old Tom Brady, the guy that threw almost 400 yards, 3 scores. That's what we're used to seeing out of Brady. It doesn't matter who his weapons are. That's what he can do. So, but if history means anything to you, which it does for me, I have a tendency to look at, how teams or players produce against teams. In the past, I mean, the last time, basically the Bucs have played Atlanta 4 times since Brady's been there, and he has thrown for 15 touchdowns against the Falcons.
Yowzers.
That's nuts. That's like almost 4 games. So
yeah.
I don't know. I was just kind of looking at that. I was reading up on that, but I mean, I'm going to add up the fact that, the first few weeks he had nobody to throw the ball to. The injuries were just, killing this team. But
guys coming back off injury is going to help him big time.
Yeah. So I mean, if he is active and he does play, which most likely he's going to, you can fire him up. But the guy I'm more excited about to talk about now is Derek Carr versus the Chiefs.
Wait, you know what else might help Brady?
What's that?
Is if the Bucs run game gets more than 3 yards on the ground.
Yeah, exactly.
This week.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to touch on a guy actually in our sneaky section there that I wanted to discuss that also belongs to the Bucs backfield. So, but the guy I'm excited about is Derek Carr. Obviously, he's coming off the worst game of his year against the Broncos. But
whoa. You're talking about 2 guys?
Yeah, this is just because I was in the
Okay.
middle. So basically, I sent Habby some show notes,
Yeah,
and
and then he breaks
yeah,
them every time.
and oh
Every
yeah,
time.
exactly. And the problem being is already researched these guys, so that's why I'm
Right off
talking
the
about
bat.
2 of them.
Right off the bat. 1 QB each,
Yeah.
and he already has 2.
But it didn't go that far down. I think I just did the quarterback 2 and 2. But anyways,
Yeah.
but Derek Carr's coming off the his worst game with the against the Broncos last week. But realistically, the Broncos have been awesome against quarterbacks all year.
Yeah.
And now what I love is the fact that I'm expecting this game to be a high scoring game with the Chiefs. I just think it's a juicier matchup for Carr and this Raiders offense. The way he's rolling with Adams, you got Waller. I mean, Mac Hollins, if he gets Renfro back, Josh Jacobs is dynamite right now. And the Chiefs are giving up the 5th most points to opposing quarterbacks right now, including giving up 20-plus points in 3 of the last 4 weeks to the position. So I'm loving Carr to have a big bounce back game for this week for sure.
All right. That means that my boy, I think I'm going to fire up Renfro this week. What do you think about that start?
Is he hurt still?
If he's healthy. If
he's healthy, I'm definitely going to put him in. I got to pull him off, put him back in my dynasty team. But anyways, all right, now give me who's your slouch for the week.
Okay, well, position. We a guy that
I got 2.
Oh, you do, yeah. Well, a guy who's drafted high and who has let you down, Matthew Stafford.
Okay, I got one.
Going up against he was 1 year's?
Yeah. So yeah, just so everyone knows, me and Habby don't tell each other who
no, we like to look at each other's faces when we break the news.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah. How about her, Habby?
Well, Stafford just simply has not been good this season. He has 1 game with more than 9 fantasy points this year. He's going up against Dallas, who has shut down Burrow and Tom Brady this year already. And I mean, Stafford just doesn't look. He's got a bad Super Bowl hangover. It's not worth using in 1 quarterback leagues, I don't think. I mean, you'll probably fire him up as your second unless you got a sweet guy on the bench. But I mean, there's guys out there that I might start over him like this week, like a guy like Zach Wilson, who's been probably sitting on your bench. I'd probably start him over Stafford this week if you got him on your bench. But if you got a good backup, I'd say throw him in there over Stafford this week, because until we see something out of this guy, I mean, he's just causing you more pain than anything right now.
He's brutal. I would probably consider, I mean, as much as I dislike, if you look at how Stafford's production has been in this year in general, he's quarterback 28 on the year.
Yeah.
And he's just been playing bad.
Yeah.
And then now you're going up against
matchup.
Yeah, now you're going up against the Cowboys teams that's held the opposing quarterbacks to 12 fantasy points per game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as far as if you look at it, what I have big bold letters here, I'm like, Stafford is droppable in my eyes. And I'd rather roll with a guy like Goff the rest of the season than to.
But like we saw with last year, the Rams, beware, because second half of the season is when they turned it on.
Well, so that's fine. But he's got.
I would keep him on. I wouldn't drop Stafford. I would keep him on your bench.
Fuck Stafford.
You're gonna want him for a bye week.
Well, my issue is it's fun. Okay, start to learn to get a rapport with everybody else on your team.
Yeah,
like you got Allen Robinson there. They don't know how to use. When you had Odell Beckham there, Stafford was easily able to find Cooper Kupp, Odell Beckham, his running backs. He can find anybody on the field. Now he's just locked in on one guy, which is Cooper Kupp.
Well,
and he doesn't look anywhere. Higbee as well.
Looks.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry, right now it's just Kupp and Higbee.
Yeah.
But now he doesn't look, he only looks 2 ways and that's it.
Yeah.
You're not going to be successful in this league if you're only looking at 2 guys. Sure, you got one of the best ones in the league, if not the best one in the league, but still eventually that's going to come, they're just going to shut you down, or sure, let him catch like 12, 15 balls like he did last week.
Yeah.
But you're not getting in the end zone. So what good are you for fantasy purposes? So
that's team that run game is sucking right now.
Oh yeah, exactly. So my slouch this week is, if I told you that this guy has averaged over 20 fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 games. Would you think, why the hell are we even talking about this guy as a slouch? Why are we benching this guy?
Yes.
Do you know who I'm talking about by chance?
Quarterback? Slouch, over 20.
Kyler Murray.
Okay.
Kyler Murray. Now, hear me out. Look at the one game that he has struggled this year. So, like I mentioned, 20 plus fantasy points in 3 of the last 4 games.
Yes.
The one game he did struggle against was against the Rams. And if you talk about any positives on the Rams, that's going to be their defense.
Yes.
They were able to shut down the run game. They kept Murray in check most of the game. And he couldn't throw. He didn't even throw a touchdown. He was on the run all game. Right? So, now he goes up against an Eagles team who ranked who ranked first in the league in sacks and 7th in interceptions. So this defense is firing on all cylinders right now. They're going to chase Murray out of the pocket, and they're going to cause him to turn the ball over, I think, a little bit more than what people think. And the fact that this defense hasn't allowed more than 9 fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks in the last 3 games. So I don't know. Murray, this whole offense is in trouble this week, and I'm staying far away from him and any of his pass catchers in this one, if I can.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to matter what quarterback goes up against Philly right now. I mean, they're just
dynamite, man.
Killing everybody.
On both sides of the ball right now, too.
Yeah.
All right.
Or the weather gets them.
Exactly. Okay, give me who we vouching for this week as far as the running back position goes.
All right. Well, going into Detroit.
Damn it, Habby.
Did I pick your guy? Yeah. Maybe, because I think both guys in the New England backfield are going to feast a little bit this week. But I'm going with Ramon Stevenson. He's been on fire the past 2 games with 31 PPR points, and that's the only kind of fantasy football I played. Over that span, and he's got 8 catches for 51 yards on 10 targets in those 2 outings. So, I mean, he's getting the look in the passing game there. We thought this going into this season. He started slow, but in the last few weeks, he's come on as that pass catching back for that team. And like I said, I think Harris could feast in this game too, because I mean, they're going up against Detroit, who's let teams run all over them.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I have here. I'm like both running backs, number one, but they're both coming off double-digit performances last week. And the Lions are allowing over 26 fantasy points to running backs in each of the last 4 weeks, especially with the fact that you just watched Rashad Penny, torch him for 150 and 2 scores last week. So, like I said, like you said, both backs are viable, I think, this week. And the Pats could honestly run the ball 30 plus times with the uncertainty at quarterback right now. So I do like that. Another guy that I like is Raheem Mostert for the Jets.
Yes, I got to start him because my boy Javonte went down in keeper.
With the injury to Tua, I'm expecting the Dolphins to rely on this run game even more now than they did before. Even with Edmonds in the mix, Mostert is still getting, 10 plus touches a game. Last week alone, he played 72% of the snaps, and his snap count has increased each of the last 4 weeks. So I think they were easing him in from his injury, but he's playing well right now. He's running hard. He's explosive. He doesn't look like he has any ill effects of his injury last year. And I'm telling you right now, Mostert's scoring this week. So boom, there you go.
Bonus points.
All right. Oh, you have another guy.
Yeah, 2. Yeah, right. That was on the list.
Well,
I'm gonna go with Devin Singletary as a startup this week. He's been dominant. The biggest thing for me is he's been dominating the playing time there. I mean, he's like 73%. He's playing 73% of the snaps against Dolphins and against 88% against the Ravens. So he's on the field a ton, and he's going up against Pittsburgh's D, who's without Watt, they're like ghost of themselves, and So, I mean, running backs are already feasting on them. And I think in this game, there's going to be a few touchdowns to be had on the ground. I mean, I don't think Pittsburgh is going to be scoring a lot. So, I mean, going up against the Buffalo D that doesn't have to do much to win, I think Singletary is going to get the ball a lot.
That's where I'm kind of on the fence with. I'm not sure how this is going to go. I don't know I think this team is just too pass happy now, even though they did just lose two of their receivers. My issue, I don't think that Singletary is a bad start this week. My only concern is the fact that the usage of him lately, he's had one good game out of 4. I'm just more worried the fact that I think that Bills are just going to, just take it to Pittsburgh through the air still. But
well, I mean, Pittsburgh, if they did a little game tape on Pittsburgh, teams can run against them. They've let in every game over 15 PP or 15 points in fantasy to opposing quarter or running backs, and that's the way you can beat them.
And they have to figure out a run game, right? They're not going to win the Super Bowl just throwing the ball, so they got to find some sort of balance. So, but yeah, like I'm saying, there's the matchup's good. So everything on paper right now is saying, yeah, he's a fire.
He's going to get the touches. I mean, he's out there last game for 88% of the snaps. I mean, they just must not trust Moss.
Or James Cook. Or James Cook at that. Yeah. So, yeah, but no, you sold me. It's all good. I get it. I get it. I get it. All right. Well, we can't talk about my other guy that I vouched for because we both had the same guy once again.
Stevenson.
Yeah. Well, I had them both.
Okay.
So
good pick.
If I had to throw one out there, give me.
Those are the two guys you had?
Yep.
And Singletary.
No, I didn't have Singletary. I had the New England backs and I had Mostert.
Oh, okay. Both okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So the guy that I'm want no part of this week, Slouch in my eyes, is one and the only Zeke Elliott this week. I dislike him.
You know what's funny? He's my number one slouch.
There you go.
Maybe we should send each other.
Yeah, I think we should because it's kind of blowing it back and forth, but that's okay. At least we could talk about it.
Though.
Yeah, exactly. But he's technically giving you right now wide running back 3 numbers. He's currently ranked as the running back 36 in PPR through 4 weeks. So, I mean, it's not that he's not playing the snaps. He's still playing 20% snaps still playing 20% of this 20% more snaps than Pollard. But what's killing him right now is the fact that he doesn't play in the passing game at all.
Yeah.
I think he's only averaging just over 5 targets a game. And he's just, he's just not great. He's just
if they can't get anything going on the ground, the Rams are a tough defense on the ground. They've only allowed 1 touchdown on the ground, and that was almost an anomaly to Wilson last week. But it's going to be tough and then, like you said, he's not involved in the passing game. So if they can't run the ball, it might be a Pollard game this week. Well,
even then, though, I mean, the Rams itself are only giving up just over 10 fantasy points to opposing running backs this year, too. So this defense is solid against the run. So I'm not really predicting anything out of this running game whatsoever this week. But on a positive note, although I am sitting him this week, I'm going to try to actually go buy him low if there's an owner willing to sell him. I'm going to go try to buy him low now because there's a lighter schedule ahead for Zeke where I do think he's going to get going. So
I hope he crashes and burns. I got a little cachet in Pollard, so I could use a Zeke torn ACL.
Easy, Habby. Be nice.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Do you have
a high ankle sprain? That takes you down for
a few weeks. All right. Give me your other guy.
Okay. Well, I mean, coming off a big week last week, out of Seattle, Rashard Penny. They're going up against a stout New Orleans run defense. He was So like I said, a sleeper last week, huge week, 17 carries for 151 yards and 2 touchdowns, along with 6 catches. He is the number 1 running back in Seattle. But prior to facing the Lions, who are terrible defensively, Penny combined for 16 PPR points in his first 3 games. And the Saints have allowed 1 rushing touchdown and 2 touchdowns combined to running backs. So, I mean, they're good. They have a good running stopping defense. And I just think that if you got somebody else to fire up other than Penny this week, but I'm sure coming off of last week, you're not going to listen to a word I'm saying. But,
no, I would agree.
I could see him having a dud this week.
No, I would agree with you. I mean, the Saints, don't look more amazing on either side of the ball right now, but I mean, they're still good against the run, like you said, right? So the fact that he's the only guy, I mean,
do you think they'll involve Walker in some of this action?
They're going to have to at some point. So I guess we'll just wait and see. Maybe it'll be today, or this weekend. Maybe it'll be this weekend. Will be his breakout game. Who knows? But another guy that I'm a big slouch in my eyes is Cam Akers versus the Cowboys this week. Talked about this. Cowboys defense has already been pretty good against quarterbacks, and they're just as good against running backs. And Akers has been absolutely horrendous this year, averaging a pitiful 3.1 yards per carry. He scored single-digit points 3 times in 4 weeks. And basically, this backfield's messy now. I mean, if you look at how it's split up amongst the 2 of them, Akers and Henderson, Henderson had 16 more snaps than Akers did last week, and it doesn't even look like Akers has a solid role on this team right now. So
the whole offense is just spinning right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, the matchup with the Cowboys is not a favorable one. I'm leaving Akers on the bench, and I'm not sure.
Now, would you still fire up Henderson, though?
Probably would Henderson, just because he's getting the
more of the carries.
The more of the carries, yeah. So, I mean, I don't like either of them, but I'm not. If you're more, you have to start one of them most likely.
Yes.
I mean, until there's, especially in the fact that you're so far we have no buys coming up, so I think buys start next week, I believe.
Yeah.
So then you're going to see a lot different names on these lists moving forward. So, all right, to the wide receiver position. No, or did you have another one? No, that was
Nope.
Wide receiver position. Give me a guy that you're all about this week. You're vouching for.
Okay.
Going to the bank with this guy. Going to the bank with him.
Well, I like Scary Terry's matchup this week. Terry McLaurin out of Washington. Dotson down with hamstring injury, and Samuel is dealing with an illness right now, so his workload could be up this week. The Titans' pass defense has allowed 5 touchdowns to opposing receivers this year already, and I could see Terry getting into the 15 to 20 point range this week. And Wentz finally coming out of his shell that he just crawled into as soon as I freaking traded for him in Keeper 2 weeks ago.
Well, I think this game in general should be pretty good. But yeah, like you said, no Dotson just means more targets for. I think Samuel's going to play. And you don't have really any backs to catch the ball. Brian Robinson did practice. I'm going to be curious to see if he gets thrown in the mix in that backfield next week. But
I was just going to say something about it. He's
okay. Time will tell.
Yeah.
All right, my guy. This is crazy to even think about, but I'm going to the guy on the other side of the ball, Habby. Robert Woods.
The Woody.
Yeah, coming off back-to-back weeks with 10-plus fantasy points. I get the hesitancy starting a guy with a whole whopping 12 receptions on the year, but the matchup is just too good to turn your head on. Through 4 weeks, the Commanders have allowed an average of 40.2 fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. That's a ton. They have, they have not allowed fewer than 30 points to wide receiver position this year and have been above 35 points in each of the last 3 weeks. So they can't stop anybody through the air. And they
And
can't
it
stop
doesn't look
anybody.
like Burks is playing this week, I don't think.
No, yeah, I was just about to say that. The fact is that he's the main passing option now. That receiver, they lost, Traylon Burks to injury, and they don't really have too much else outside of Derrick Henry on that on that team right now. So
Yeah.
I think it's going to be another double-digit fantasy day for Woods against a shitty pass defense, and he's getting at least minimum 5 targets. I bet you upwards to the fact of 10 to 12 though actually in this game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's going to
So
blow up.
Tanny could be a sneaky fire up too then, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
You got another one?
Yep, I got another guy who's been frustrating the hell out of people this year, but I am going to fire him up this week with a little bit of confidence, and that's my boy Gabe Davis. You know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, go,
Gabe.
go.
Who do you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to talk about the guy that I think is the fucking biggest bum ever in DJ Moore, but yeah. Well, go ahead.
Yeah.
ahead.
He is a bum. But okay, they're going up against Pittsburgh. Like I said, he's had a frustrating start to the season, but this could be his time to shine. We saw that Crowder went down in a heap last week and won't play. That puts Davis in line for a potential large bump against the Steelers. They've already allowed 6 receivers to score at least 13 PPR points. I mean, and I do think there's been a lot of excuses for Davis's play. I mean, there was crappy weather in Baltimore, it didn't help. He only has 1 touchdown this year and 1 game with more than 6 PPR points. But I do think that he should reward fantasy managers this week because it's a good matchup. And like I said, the injury to Crowder will increase his workload.
Yeah, I'm still worrying about him and this ankle injury. He's put up 2 really shitty games the last couple weeks. So
if he doesn't pop in this game, I'm benching him. He's been sucking me dry later. Quicker.
I got a sneaky person to talk about. I want to get there, but
sneaky.
Yeah, my guy, another guy I'm vouching for is, I can't believe I'm even saying this, is the one Corey Davis.
Oh yeah, I just scooped him in Dynasty,
and I got him in Keeper, I think. But with Wilson back, Davis remains heavily involved in this offense. It's like they didn't lose any connection from last year. Davis was productive last year.
Somebody said that last week that Davis was the smart play. I wondered who that was.
Was that you?
Oh yeah, I did.
Oh wow. See, this is the thing. We got these written down. We got to keep these now in our back pocket, and we got to you know what I mean? Keep track of this.
That's exactly what I said too. Is we know Zach Wilson likes Davis.
Did you? I might have to go back.
They probably have barbecues together. They've been together for a while. I mean, Davis is probably next to him, next to the barbecue. I can picture it. Just saying, when you come back, you better not forget me, bro.
But yeah, no. So I mean, he saw another 7 targets last week, and that's 26 on the year. So it doesn't matter if it's Joe Flacco or Wilson throwing him the ball. He's getting it, or Joe Flacco or Wilson throwing him the ball. He's getting his targets. So he's averaged over 6 targets per game and over 65 yards and 2 scores this year so far. And he's got a decent matchup against the Dolphins, who have struggled in recent weeks. 2 wide receivers, they're giving up just giving up over 37 points per game in half PPR scoring. So 3 weeks in a row. The fact is that Davis is getting the volume. They're most likely going to be playing from behind. That's a recipe for success for Davis.
I like it.
All right. Give me a slouch.
Okay, I am sitting Brandon Ayuk this week.
Ooh.
I think the 40.
Why? I need him. Why?
I'm just about to tell you.
Okay, tell me.
I think the 49ers run game is going to get going. Ayuk could be left in the weeds with Debo and Kittle getting most of the action.
Kittle sucks.
He's amazing, so he's gonna
shit.
be amazing.
He's trash.
Ayuk has 1 touchdown this season and 2 games with more than 11 PPR points, including a high of 12 in Week 4 against the Rams. He was held to 4 catches for 37 yards on 4 targets. He's not getting the work so far this year, and I think, like I said, if they get their run game going, then it's just gonna. I mean, they're gonna they want the ball in Debo's hands as much as they can get it, and I think Kittle's gonna suck up that number 2 or pass catching role, and then Ayuk is gonna be settling for like 3 or 4 catches a game, which isn't fantasy viable.
Oh man, I might have to look elsewhere now.
And the Panthers have allowed just 2 touchdowns to opposing receivers and only 4 to score at least 12 PPR points against them. So, I mean, he's going up against a pretty big, good defense.
Good pass D. No, good one there. I'm gonna
talk Corey Davis instead of
yeah, and I'm talking about this guy that we just talked about earlier, DJ Morris. Shit face DJ Moore.
He's let you down. I can hear it in your voice.
Oh yeah. Well, great. Yeah, he had a whole whopping, increased the targets in more. He got 11 targets last week. I get the Panthers are trying to get him involved, but just not against the Niners. I mean, they're one of the toughest defenses to opposing wide receivers. They've only allowed 21.8 fantasy points per game, which doesn't, bode well for any of this passing offense with Baker Mayfield behind center. So, I mean, I think this is going to could technically be basically, like you mentioned with San Francisco 49er, the run games could get going on both sides of this. I don't think either quarterback's going to be able to do much through the air. I think Moore does see a ton of targets, but he's catching under 60% of them. So, I mean, even if he's getting targeted, he's not catching them all. So, sit him this week. He's got a tough stretch the next 4 weeks, but after that, you hopefully will be able to play him if he can get something going. But I'm not counting on it, especially this week. So,
all right, I like it.
Another one. Give it to me.
Do you think Moore is gonna? He seems like a really angry guy in Carolina. You think he's going to request a trade pretty quick here?
I don't think he's going to request a trade. I don't think he's going to request for fucking Sam Darnold to get back behind center so he could get some catches.
Oh, yeah.
I think Darnold's a way better quarterback than Mayfield is, hands down. I'm not sure why they made that trade.
Terrible.
Oh, they're both terrible, but at least Darnold can, move that offense. Baker can't. Baker's still stuck in the fact that look at me, I'm fucking Baker Mayfield. You're shit, man. Yeah. You're trash. Go get hit by a bus.
Whoa, easy, buddy.
That's
easy. A torn ACL. You were yelling at me for wishing that upon somebody.
Yeah, you're right.
Hit
My bad.
by a bus, he
says. My bad. All right, give me your other guy.
All right. Well, there's a changing in the guard in Pittsburgh this week. New quarterback Pickett coming in. And I think that him and Johnson are going to take a little while to get used to each other. When Pickett did come in last week, you could tell he was favoring Fairmouth and Pickens. He wants to get those 2 guys the ball, it seems. So I think that Johnson, I mean, he was doing decent in a offense that was not doing much, with double-digit PPR points in like 3 of his first games. But I think that he could see that his workload dial back a little bit with Pickett stepping in here. And I think that we could see Pickens actually getting more catches and stealing some of those catches away from Johnson.
Yeah, he was my other guy on this list.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wasn't. Well, if you broke down what happened last game, only saw 4 targets. Well, he's had 33 in the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, obviously there's some with Pickett loves Pickens. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Pickett and Pickens.
Yeah.
But
they're homies, man. The rookies they all sat on the same bench and just
Yeah, like you said, I mean, at some point, I think that rapport is going to develop with them, but it's definitely not going to be against the Bills, who's basically
Yeah,
one of
that's another thing. Bills tough
a
matchup.
very good defense against wide receivers. Um, so, and until we see more production coming Johnson's way, I'm not touching him.
Screw them.
So, all right. Well, we just can jump right over to the tight end position now. I'll give you a guy that I'm vouching for this week, and that's going to be Ty Conklin.
I like it.
Yeah, he's been solid. He's
Minute.
been a solid tight end option, all year, pretty much since going to the Jets. Gets a nice matchup with Miami this week. They've allowed the 6th most fantasy points to the position in PPR scoring. And they have not been able to hold opposing tight ends below 10 fantasy points at all this year. So Conklin should see the volume and should be able to
showing
score.
consistency too.
Yeah, and you should be able to score double-digit fantasy points again. Get them in your lineups, especially because the tight ends suck.
Do it.
Who do you got?
Hey, well, my tight end fire up this week is Logan Thomas. Again, with the injuries that they have to Samuel, possibly not playing because he's sick, and Dotson. Thomas only has one game this season with more than 7 PPR points, but this should be a good week for him to get back against the Titans. Thomas could get a bump in targets because of the injuries, and we've seen that Wentz has sucked the last couple weeks, so he needs to get something going, and I really hope it's with McLaren and Thomas this week. The Titans, they've allowed four touchdowns to tight ends this year, so I mean, it's a position that they allowed to run a little rampant in their secondary.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think he's going to get those key targets with especially in that red zone with no Dotson there. So
yeah,
I like it. The one guy I'm benching this week, if he does play, is going to be well, I'll just touch on the one guy that basically is starting, basically Robert Tonyan for the Packers. I know that is that who you had?
No, I thought you were going to say my guy.
Oh,
I got another shitty tight end to talk about.
Oh, do you? There you go. But yeah, no, I mean, I know the Packers are desperate for pass catchers. That they do have, they have Lazard, they have Dubes, but Robert Tonyan was a big part of this this offense in this passing game at one point. I do think that they're going to try to use him, but the Giants have been very good against tight ends the last even 3 years. And I think Tonyan's not going to be able to get much going this week.
Yeah, that ACL tear last year might be affecting him more than people thought.
Yeah. Who do you got?
All right, I am sitting that bum in Dallas, Dalton Schultz.
Oh, I was looking at him. I had him written down.
I hate him. I got him in 2 leagues. I hate him right now.
I had him written down, but then I'm like, why don't we just talk game preview and talk about this whole Dallas and LA Rams? Because we've had them, all their bunch of players on this list so far.
Yeah. You know who else hates him?
Who?
Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
He's had 2 games with him, and he has 2 catches for 18 yards on 7 targets. I hope that his catchless performance in Week 4 against the Washington was due to the knee injury he was dealing with. But I would think that him and Cooper are just not on the same page. And plus, he's playing against the Rams, who've held Dawson Knox, Pitts, Ertz, and Kittle to a combined 11 catches. So it's a tough matchup either way, and I'm keeping Schultz on my bench.
Another guy I'm going to keep on my bench, I'll just touch on this briefly, is Pat Freiermuth. We just talked about.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just said that the new QB loves them.
But also the fact that, Mark Andrews just got held in check with Buffalo against Buffalo. I'm not trusting. Freiermuth is not an Andrews, and a Pickett is not Lamar. So if they could shut Andrews down, which is, in my opinion, the best tight end in the league, good luck, Pat Freiermuth, whatever his name is. Freiermuth. All right, let's get to these sneaky guys that we're talking about. I got two guys I want to touch on super quick. These are guys that you could, I don't know, like I said, they're outside the top 50 at their position. So I'm going to start with Rashad White of the Bucks, running back. I mean, they're starting to see, you were mentioning it earlier, this 3.1 yards per carry for this running game. You got to get something else going. And I think they did that exactly what they did with him last week with Rashad White. He got five. He had 8 touches on the game, 5 catches, and he had a touchdown. So, I mean, there's no reason why I don't think that the Falcons, aren't going to use him in that passing game. Maybe give him a little bit of run, few more touches, and, maybe you're going to catch him, flex him out, and maybe you can get some double-digit fantasy points from him this week.
Whew. Bold call. Bold call.
It is.
One of my deep guys coming back from being shot into a backfield that is led by a poopy Antonio Gibson. I think that Brian Robinson Jr. going against the Titans, if he plays this week, he could right out of the gates be their number one runner.
Yeah, Gibson's been bad. We talked about that. But Gibson's been bad. His production's gone down. His snap counts have gone down every single game. And I think Washington's just desperately waiting for Robinson to come back. He basically took the job before he got shot. And you know what? This was just a perfect opportunity for Gibson to take over this backfield early, and he couldn't even do it. So,
yeah,
I regret hanging on to him in Dynasty, but that's all right. We'll get by.
Such is life.
But I do like the outlook for Robinson this year. And a even deeper sleeper that I got this week, you talked about Gabe Davis for the Bills. Mine's Khalil Shakir, with the fact that he only caught 2 catches last week for 23 yards. But I mean, the fact that they're down, probably going to be down 2 wide receivers in Isaiah McKenzie, who's out with a concussion right now, and Crowder, who has is basically out for the year. You're going up against the Steelers, who are, they ranked 8th. They're the 8th worst secondary against fantasy wide receivers. And you're basically know that the fact that this team throws the ball, they spread the ball around. There's going to be somebody outside of Diggs, outside of Dawson Knox, outside of Gabe Davis. If he plays, Shakir is going to be that guy. They drafted him for this reason. I think he's already showed enough to kind of make a name for himself.
All right. I like it. Okay. My another deep sleeper for me is, I know you don't want to start him, but, and I don't blame you because I got him. I don't want to start him, is Etienne Jr. but he played a few more snaps than Robinson last week, and a matchup against Houston's defense, who's allowing the most fantasy points to RBs, screams breakout to me. Finally, come on.
He should catch the ball a lot more often than what we think he's going to do. I think they're going to be able to move. I think they're both of these running backs are going to be able to produce this week. So, and yeah, you're right. It's against the Texans, who's the worst fucking team in the league. The only winless team in the league.
I'm calling it right now. He's getting a touchdown.
Don't know about that. Don't know about that.
Probably not going to happen because I am going to start him in one of my pools. So
I have him in a bunch of leagues, but all right, Habby. What do you think? How do you think that went?
I like it.
I think that was. I think that was cool. Another guy. Oh, I did. I like it, but I forgot. Fire up Michael Gallup. I like Michael Gallup this week only for the simple fact.
So does Cooper Rush.
Yeah, last week 2 of 3 targets, 24 yards, scored. And I just think it's the fact that even with Noah Brown there, Michael Gallup steps in as a wide receiver 2 behind CeeDee Lamb and is basically going to tear it up once again. So you can fire him up.
I had one more guy. DuVernay. I like him this week.
Could be their number 1 pass catcher.
Yeah, exactly. With Rashad Bump or he's got a foot problem. So DuVernay, he's going to step in there, and they don't have much for receivers beyond Bateman and Andrews. So if one of those guys goes down, I could see DuVernay picking up the slack.
Just so you know, it's Duvernay, Habby.
Duvernay?
I'm just putting it out there, Duvernay. Just saying. But
that's what I just said, isn't it? Duvernay?
Duvernay. That's not Duvernay.
That's
Duvernay.
how it's
Duvernay.
Okay.
There you
okay.
go. All right, we're good. All right. You know what? I liked it. We kind of, like I said, we went off kind of a little bit different format. We're going to give this a shot for a couple weeks. For those of you that do listen, please hit me up on Twitter. Head over there if you guys want to see even more, some more starts and sits and stuff like that. Head over to the website, check out my rankings. I think Habby doesn't do rankings, but me and Riley do there on the website. Pretty easy. Just go to fantasyfootballfromupnorth.com. You know, the screen cup pops up and it's right on the very front. It says weekly rankings. So feel free to check them out there. Mine are updated quite frequently. They will be updated as by the time you guys listen to the show tomorrow. But anyways, outside of that, Habby, no show for the rest of the week now. Boom. We're 5 weeks done.
Peace out, bro.
Later. Peace.